Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things I've learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. And I thought we would start the week off with some meditations to get us all on a positive path for the week ahead, hoping that we have a week full of peace and calm and serenity, and that we hit the pause button when we need to make some choices in our lives, or if we find ourselves being reactionary. It's one of the greatest tools that I've learned over the last couple years is that when I'm in the middle of something where I'm wanting to react and I'm wanting to be reactionary, I just envision this huge pause button in the sky, and I hit that pause button and I'm like, take a deep breath and I exhale. Sometimes I sleep on it. And then I think, okay, peaceful thoughts. And I often think too, I don't know, I didn't think I was going to talk about this when I started this video today. I also think like, okay, a week from now, how will I have wished that I would have responded to this instead of reacted to this? Do you ever do that? Like when you look back on past things and you go, oh gosh, I wish I hadn't like reacted to it that way. Well, in that moment that you hit the pause button, you can think about all those times in the past that you reacted to things differently than you wish you had, right? And I'm not a perfect example of that. I still react to things today that I wish I didn't. And so that's what that pause button is for, when I remember it. But I thought that we would start today off with some meditations to get us started on the right, positive, happy, hopeful, thoughtful path for the week ahead, and just some things to think about that we might want to work on for this week. I also want to say a reminder that I'm doing a Ask Peter segment over here, that if you guys have any questions just based on my life experience to do with anything, to do with addiction and sobriety, or grieving, marriage, anything that you guys want me to talk about over here, just based on my own experience, leave those questions in the comment section below, and I will pick one and do a video about it. Okay, let's get into the meditations today. Of course, I brought with me my favorites, the Melody Beatty books. Today, I believe, is June 16th. I cannot believe that we are like halfway through June already. Let's look at I haven't done a meditation in a couple days. So let's look at the past couple days. Today's is Insisting on the Best. Family Buttons. Oh, that might be a good one. Let's see. We Are Lovable. God as We Understand God. Letting Go of Fear of Abandonment. You know what, actually? Let's do We Are Lovable. I think that might be a good one to remind ourselves as we start this week. And then I might read one from this as well, from The Journey to the Heart by Melody Beatty. So this is from July 14th. We are lovable. And there was a quote from Codependent No More. Even if the most important person in your world rejects you, you are still real, and you are still okay. From Codependent No More. Do you ever find yourself thinking, how could anyone possibly love me? For many of us, this is a deeply ingrained belief that can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Thinking we are unlovable can sabotage our relationships with coworkers, friends, family members, and other loved ones. This belief can cause us to choose or stay in relationships that are less than we deserve because we don't believe we deserve better. We may become desperate and cling as if a particular person was our last chance at love. We may become defensive and push people away. We may withdraw or constantly overreact. While growing up, many of us did not receive the unconditional love we deserved. Many of us were abandoned or neglected by important people in our life. We may have concluded that the reason we weren't loved was because we were unlovable. Blaming ourselves is an understandable reaction, but an inappropriate one. Ooh, that's powerful. If others couldn't love us or love us in ways that worked, that's not our fault. In recovery, we're learning to separate ourselves from the behavior of others. And we're learning to take responsibility for our healing, regardless of the people around us. Just as we may have believed that we're unlovable, we can become skilled at practicing the belief that we are lovable. This new belief will improve the quality of our relationships. It will improve our most important relationship, our relationship with ourselves. We will be able to let others love us and become open to the love and friendship we deserve. Today, God, help me be aware of and release any self-defeating beliefs I have about being vulnerable. Help me begin today to tell myself that I am lovable. Help me practice this belief until it gets into my core and manifests itself in my relationships. I love this meditation so much. For a long time on my videos, I talked a lot about being bullied when I was growing up, and I'm not going to just relate it to this, but every once in a while I would get a comment from people, some person, they would say, why are you still talking about this? Why aren't you over it? Or I would talk about like my mom's drinking. So for those of you that do not know, my sobriety birth date is December 17th of 1994. My mom, I think I did a video over here just recently about my mom's sobriety birth date. My mom's sobriety birth date was June 2nd of 1995. So when I was growing up, there were, and I always preface this, I think this is almost my defensiveness about my mom's drinking to some degree, that I'm still protective of her. I think even all these years later, I'm still protective of my mom. But I also want to paint an accurate picture that when I was growing up, it wasn't horrible all the time. There were horrible moments. There were fearful, scary moments. But it wasn't, I could walk in some days and it would be a Little House on the Prairie, and my mom was a fantastic mom. And then I could walk in other times and she had been drinking all day long with her friends, and she was obliterated, and dinner was forgotten, and she just went upstairs and went to bed. It was like I wasn't even there. I think the scariest thing for me is that I never knew what I was walking into. My mom was never a violent drinker, but I just absent. It was like I wasn't there. I think in retrospect, it's part of the reason why I've talked a lot about being bullied. So in school, I was bullied horribly from like kindergarten, first grade on. I was horribly bullied. And it wasn't just, I think that word bullying is so encapsulating of so many things today. But I think it was the constant teasing, the constant calling names. But bullying takes on a lot of forms. I can remember being in gym class, and for whatever it was, whatever game we were playing, whether I was good at it or not, I was never picked. I was always the last one to be picked for a team, which feels a certain way. Like it feels like I'm not picked, nobody likes me. That's a form of bullying itself. I had teachers that witnessed people saying mean things to me and never stood up for me. So that made me feel like I'm not good enough to stand up for, like I'm not good enough to defend or protect. Not until late high school did I really have friends of mine that defended me, because if people were calling me names and making fun of me, then for somebody to defend me to that would mean that they were going to get called names too. So I never felt like I was good enough to fight for. I think that's played out in my relationships from the past, and I had to look at this. I had to look at this in, past relationships and things like that, and that I have a history of kind of sabotaging relationships to almost see if people will fight for me a little bit, to see if I'm really worth it or not. And in my head, if they didn't work out, I could say, see, I'm just not good enough. Like, I'm not lovable. There must be something wrong with me, until I realized what was going on. But the reason I'm bringing all this up is, there was a lot of stuff in my life that happened to me for years and years and years. I didn't really understand, I was afraid of my mom's drinking. I didn't understand it. I was afraid for my mother, because I was, in all honesty, when I was at my dad's house, I would call my mom when she was drinking. I always thought she would die. That was my fear, was that my mom was going to die from drinking, or that she was going to hurt herself somehow. And I don't know that, I'm talking about from a very young age, like 6, when my parents got separated when I was like 5 or 6. So from that age going forward, we look at kids today and we say kids don't understand. I fully understood. I understood calling my mom on the phone that my mom's voice sounded one way when she was drinking, it sounded another way. I don't know that I knew the words alcoholic or alcoholism to use to those, but I knew that my mom was different when she drank. I knew that from a very, very young age. I knew that she acted different. I knew she talked different. And my mom would always apologize for it the next day, but it didn't really take anything away. Years later, I'm talking probably, when was this? I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago. I was getting ready to do this huge inventory with my sponsor. And I really thought I had worked through everything with my mom. And I remember my best friend and I were having this conversation, and she talked about, I dated my fair share of drug addicts in my life, drug dealers, drinkers, and stuff like that. And I was looking at all those past relationships that I had before I got sober. And my best friend said to me something about people always picking substances over you. And she said, even your mom. And it had never occurred to me in that kind of context. And that really, for me, was exactly how I felt as a kid. That I wasn't lovable enough that my mom wouldn't put down the bottle. Now today, I know that it's a disease. I understand that the addiction is hard. I'm an alcoholic and an addict myself in recovery, so I understand it. I've said in many of my videos, if people say, if they loved me, they would stop using. If love were enough, there would not be a need for 12-step programs, churches, for people going there for addiction issues, MAP programs, therapy, drug courts. We wouldn't need any of that if love were enough. I think love is great, but I think sometimes tough love is even better. I was too young to understand that. And I can remember thinking to myself, my mom would rather drink, because she would tell me, I'm not going to drink anymore, or I'm going to stop drinking, or mom is so sorry, she'll never be this way again, and then it would happen again. And I don't know that I really had the words to put to it until my friend Tanya said to me, even your mom picked drinking over you. And I was like, and Tanya and my mom knew each other and were friends. They loved each other. And I was like, and my mom probably, if she were sitting here today, would say, oh, that's 100% true. I didn't see it. I didn't consciously say, I'm picking my child over, I'm picking drinking over my child. But she would say, because my mom was not a bullshitter, she would say, but 100% I did. Every time I picked up drinking and I was fully aware that it would affect you, then yeah, I think this is one of the issues why I have a lot of issues with when I see parents today that like try 20 times and they can't get sober and their kids are the ones that are like affected by it. Like it really hits me hard. My mom would say, I think if she was here today, like, and we did have some conversations about it. She would say, I didn't consciously say I want to drink over being with my child. But yes, I knew when I was drinking that I was lying to you. She would say I knew that. Just like I knew that I was lying to my people that loved me in my life when I continued to do it. And so, you know, you think about all of that, right? Of like school was not my safe place. Home was not my safe place. I didn't really have a lot of safe places in my life when I was growing up. My dad, my aunt and uncle's house, but there was a lot of drinking at my aunt and uncle's house too. And so like Caroline, I think if you ever see my cousin Caroline and I, we joke with each other a lot, but I always kind of defer to her as like, she's the older sister. Like she's very protective of me. My cousin Caroline's very protective of me. Well, she was when I was a little kid. Her room, where I would sleep on the daybed in her room, was my safe place. I loved going to my aunt and uncle's house because I knew that my mom would pass out somewhere in the house, like, you know, in the basement where she slept or in Caroline's bed. And then I would be safe, you know, like I knew that I was safe in that house. And so I think like I didn't have a lot of space. I'm really into the creating of safe spaces in my life today. Safe spaces that are peaceful and serene. And I'm probably not going to get to this book, but maybe. But I'm really into creating safe spaces for yourself today. Places that are exempt from negativity and toxicity that you can escape to. My bird feeders are a place for me, like where I can just sit there and watch the bird feeders, you know? And so I think growing up, I had all these outside sources, school, teachers not standing up for me, kids being mean to me, calling me names. All of that equals you're not lovable, you're not good enough, you're not worthy of love, you're not worthy of kind words, you're not worthy of friends, you're not worthy of a teacher standing up for you. Your mom is picking alcohol over you. She tells you she'll stop, but you're not. So you must not be worth it to stop. And my experience, based on other people that I have as friends and talk to, is minimal when compared to the excessive amounts of abuse that people that I know have suffered and the people in this world have suffered. So if I'm feeling on that level, imagine the people out there that it was beat into them that they were not lovable and literally had their mothers, siblings say things to them like, you're worthless, you'll not amount to anything, things like that. I had teachers and stuff that would say that to me. Counselors that would say to me, like, you'll never graduate from college. I literally had people say that to me, or, you know, whatever. I can remember when I was bullied in high school, having a school dean say to me, this is why when I see this in TV shows, it pisses me off. I had a dean look at me and say, what did you do so that they were picking on you? Like, it was like I was asking for it or something, you know, which is like victim shaming. But even past that, I mean, I'm past whatever it was back then. It's the effects that it had on me. Well, you're talking about, you know, I was 5 when it started for me. I got sober at 22. You know, I probably wasn't even really healthy-minded until like 25. You're talking 20 years of this. And then after that, people making fun of me for being effeminate, how I walk. Nothing was ever good enough, right? Even when I got online, people were saying that stuff to me. So let's say 20 to 30 years of this constant negativity of you're not good enough, you're not lovable. Not to mention that I dated a lot of really guys that were not great, that wanted to keep me below them and down and would say bad things about me. I still remember this one boyfriend of mine that said to me years ago, he said something to me, I was below him on an escalator and he was with his friends and they started laughing at my butt. I used to have like, I wish I still kind of did, but I used to have kind of, I mean, I was really like thin at this time too. And I had a big butt. And I remember he said something about me being bottom heavy. I still see that when I look in the mirror today, you know? The things that we say to people, the things that we tell them, especially as children, I think, you know, I sometimes look at my nephews who are 12 and 8 and I think, like by 12, it was already in my head, you know, like I already knew what people thought of me. And also when I got into junior high, when I was like my nephew's age, that was the year, 7th and 8th grade, well, he'll be in 7th grade. 7th and 8th grade was the years that people just paid no attention to me at all. Like, it was like I didn't even exist. That was almost worse than people bullying me. And I've said this before, because it was like nobody paid attention to me. It was like I didn't matter. It was like I was like just a ghost walking through the halls. And I can remember thinking, if I don't matter to anybody at all just to even say hi to, then why am I here? Like, I can remember thinking that. Like, what's the, like, I don't even understand why. Like, is there a point to me even, like, having a lot, like, what's, I couldn't even see far enough to, like, when I get out of high school. I was not one of those people that thought that way. And I also was not somebody that thought detrimentally about what I was going to do about it. I just didn't really, like, it was so hard for me to even go to school. And then I started kind of, like, shutting down a little bit. And from that, I think, kind of, like, and I think that music and movies and books and stuff really helped me with that at that time, because my mom and my dad were so encouraging of finding my own music that I liked and my own style and stuff like that. And so from that came that, I think if I hadn't had parents, even my mom and her drinking, if I hadn't had parents that kind of pushed that into me and said, you know, like, they didn't say, I think they could tell that I was in pain. I think my stepmom was a huge part of that too, because she was a little bit younger, and so she could see it in me. And so she'd really inspire me to, like, make mixtapes, or, you know, to watch some movie or something. You know, I mean, I think that inspired me a lot to find out who Peter was as a person. So something beautiful came from that. And then I started to learn to love that person. But, you know, you talk about, I think I was probably, my mom took my mom passing away for me to really go shock my system and go, okay, you need to take a look at yourself. You need to take a look at all these things that happened to you through the years and how you ended up here. And I was 35, almost 36 when my mom passed away, you know, and then got into intensive therapy, I don't know, 40 something. And I mean, so you're talking about at 40 years old, trauma, scars, and pain from when I was 5 years old. And then people say, just get over it. Why are you still talking about it? Well, because those things that are told to us, we focus so much attention on our foundation years. Those things that are told to us when we're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, form us who we are today. If for 20 years, somebody tells you that you are unlovable, you're not good enough, you're not worth fighting for, at 40 years old, it's not like you just snap your finger and that all goes away. There's a lot of work that has to be done. I know 70-year-old men and women that still react to things because they haven't done the work. They haven't had the opportunity to do the work. You know? Luckily, I can afford therapy. And I have a sponsor in a 12-step program. And I have friends that call me on my stuff. And my husband allows me to be vulnerable around him and talk to him about stuff, you know? But it's a lot of work I've had to go through. And I'm still not there yet. I'm not even probably 30% of the way there yet. And so the idea of just telling ourselves we're lovable isn't just, you know, I used to think it was that easy just to look in a mirror and say, I'm lovable. I can remember the first time I ever had to do that assignment and look in a mirror. It was so hard to say, I'm a good son, I'm a good friend. I did not believe these things about myself. I did not think that I was a good person or I was good enough. I did not believe that I was lovable. Today I believe those things. Today I believe those things to be true, and I know them to be true. But it took a lot of work to get there. A lot of work. I didn't believe it. And there's still times when somebody will say something really nice to me, like, you don't realize this, or you don't realize what a good person you are, what a caring, kind person you are. And I'm like, in my head is saying, no. Because for so long, I had so many people tell me the opposite was true. And, you know, and I bought into that and I believed it. It's one of the reasons why I love the line in Pretty Woman when they're laying in bed and he says, you're beautiful. And she says, when somebody tells you something long enough, you start to believe it. And I love that line so much because I think it's true. I think that for years and years and years, by people's actions and what they said to me, I was told that I was not good enough. I'm sure, like many of you, that I was not lovable, that my love was conditional, that other things were better to pick over me. It was always picking something over me, whether it was alcohol, another friend, the safety of a classroom, whatever. That was more important than me. I was never the priority. And so that was hard for me. And I think one of the things that came out of that was that I realized I have to make myself the priority today. I have to be the priority. I have to be selfish with that. Because if I'm not taking care of myself, I can't take care of anybody else. And so I am selfish today with that. I'm selfishly selfless in that I have to be selfish to take care of myself and work on my own self-worth and self-love so that I can be available for other people. Because if I don't believe it, I can't be there for anybody else. I just can't. Anyway, that was a great meditation today. Didn't get to the other book. we're going to all this week practice self-love, and in some small way, doing something, treating yourself, forgiving yourself a little bit easier, just doing the work. Just take one step today. Each day, tell yourself one thing that you are proud of yourself for. Just one thing. Write it down in a notebook, sit outside, say it as you're laying in bed before you go to bed. Say, today I am proud of myself for this. Just one thing that you're proud for of yourself each day. It could be, I got to work on time. It could be, I looked nice today. For me, it's been eating healthy and taking walks, being productive, having a smile on your face, not letting something get to you, making a phone call you wanted to make, checking in with your mom or your grandpa. It can be anything, okay? But one thing. Tell yourself one thing each day this week that you're proud of yourself, and that will start to build into more better self-worth and self-love. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.